Hi, welcome to another video from the workshop here at RC Legends. Just going to go through a tutorial today for the K450 Quadcopter kit. Just going through all the main components and then going through the build. So we're just going to run through a few of the components that you get with the K450 Quadcopter kit. First of all, you've got the Multicopter Specialist brushless motors from DYS. These have prop adapters that will be bolted on to the top later on. You've then got the DYS speed controllers, 30 amp. These are already pre-flashed with Simon K firmware, so not much setting up, but they will need to be soldered on, so we'll get to that later. You then got the frame, which consists of 2 white arms and 2 red arms. Up to you which way around you put them. You can have the red at the front, the white at the back, or vice versa. It's up to you. You've then got the frame plates, the top one and the base, which has got the PCB built into it, and we'll be soldering that on later on. And then you've just got a few little bits and pieces. You've got a selection of 3.5mm bullet connectors, male and female. We'll be soldering those on later. You've got a length of heat shrink tube, which we'll be using on the bullet connectors just to insulate them. A strip of the foam pads that we'll be using to secure the flight controller onto the frame, as well as some of the radio gear. You've got an XT60 plug, which will be connecting to the main frame, and that's what you'll be connecting your battery to, the main rig. And finally, you've got the K450 flight control board. We'll be getting into a bit more detail on that later on. Right, let's build it. So first of all, we'll start off by soldering our bullet connectors onto the speed controller. What I like to do on these is actually shorten the length of this, because you've got those connected like that. When you've got your arm there, the length's going to be quite a bit longer than the arm, so you're going to have quite a lot of spare cable. So I just like to shorten that by about 1.5 inches. It just means your wiring's just a bit tidier on your arm. So just go ahead and clip it like that. Sometimes the wire strippers aren't the best because this cable is really rubbery. Right, and then I've just got a little holder here which is quite useful for when you put these in there, just like that. And then just going to tin the ends of the cables, which makes it, well, basically gives you a better connection when you've got it in the bullet itself. Tin those like so. Then you want the female version of the bullet connectors, because this is basically going to go onto the motor like that. So you're going to put those in the holder. Bit of solder on the gun. Hold it over the top, just give it a second to heat up. Insert your solder into the bottom. Then insert that. Keep the heat on for a few seconds and then let go. Once it's set, that's your bullet soldered on. And it's just simply a matter of going through the rest of them, doing exactly the same on each one. Right, so once you've done that and you've got them all soldered up, then it's just a case of heat shrinking them. So cut your heat shrink tube to length, simply push it over the top until it's flush with the top, and then we'll heat it up and that will shrink down and stay on the connector. There's a couple of methods to doing this. You can either do it with your soldering iron, just sort of gently brushing over the top, and you'll see it slowly start to shrink down. Only go over it lightly, you don't actually put a hole in the heat shrink. And you can see it's pulled onto the cable. You can use other methods. You can use heat guns, you can even use a lighter if you want to. Just obviously don't put it in the flame, but just hover it underneath, and this will also heat it up and put it down onto the bullet. Okay, and then you just need to go through them all, get all those done, and then we can get them soldered onto the main PCB board. Okay, now you've got them all soldered on, it's just a case of getting them soldered onto the main PCB board that's going to distribute the power to them. So you've got black for negative, red for positive. These are marked out on the board as well, so obviously we're going to solder them on like that. Alright, so take your soldering iron, a small dab of solder on the iron, apply that to the PCB board, just give it a second just to heat up, and slowly introduce your solder and cover the plate completely. And these are already tinned, so you don't have to tin those. Straight in to your big blob of solder, hold it there for a few seconds, let go, leave it to set, and as you can see you've got it soldered on there. Nice solid connection. And again, it's just a case of going round and doing them all exactly the same. So we've got all those soldered onto the board. Just double check that you've got positive to positive, negative to negative, and that's all good. And then we're just going to get our XT60 battery connector and our couple of lengths of cable. I'm just going to make up the connection and get that soldered on there. So just strip the ends of the cables. So, and then we're just going to put those in the holder and tin the ends of them again. Then get the XT60 connector. You can see one says positive, one says negative. Obviously that's very important. So we're just going to get that in the holder there. Just clean off my iron there. And just blob on the end of your iron. Just put that underneath the connector there. Give it a second to heat up, and then introduce your solder into the hole. Very similar to the bullet connectors. You do need a little bit more solder though. And then simply insert your cable, give it a second to set, and you've got your cable on there. If you do get any solder around there like I have, you do need to try and get that off, because when you come to put the heat shrink on there, obviously that's just going to get in the way. So we try and just clear that off the outside like that. Make sure it's nice and secure, you've got a good connection, and then just do exactly the same for the other one. Okay, and then again test that it's nice and secure. So we just need to isolate those, so we're just going to grab some heat shrink tube, push it over the joint, and you see there's a gap that will just fit down there nicely, like so. And then we're just going to heat that up. Again, you can use any method for this, lighter, soldering iron or heat gun. Heat that up until it shrinks, and you're good to go. You've got your connector for your battery. And then we simply bring back the PCB board, make sure you've got positive there, negative there, matches up with the board. And exactly the same as with the speed controllers, just going to heat up the plate, apply the solder, and then connect the cable. Again, just double check that you have got positive and positive, negative and negative, and the battery will align with that. So now you've got the main distribution done, we're going to get the motors on the arms, attach the arms, and then look at linking up these speed controllers. So we've got the arms here, just going to open them up. So you've got two sets, we'll just start with the red ones for now. So you've got your motor here, you've got your little packet of accessories. Open those, and so your very small screws are for attaching that prop adapter onto the top of the motor, but we'll do that later on, so we'll just put those aside for now. And then you've also got some screws that have come with it. Now they're for mounting these motors onto motor brackets. Now we're not going to use those, we're going to use the screws that have come supplied with the frame. So we're just going to put those to the side. Then you've got your pack of screws. Open those up. You've got two packets of screws that come with the frame. One are 7.5mm and the others 6mm. Now the 6mm ones are for the frame, you know, the main plates in the middle, and the 16 pieces of 7.5mm screws are for your motors. So we'll get those out on the bench. And then it's simply a case of lining that up like so, so that the screw holes line up underneath, as you can see, and then get your Allen key and screw that into the motor. Okay, and you can do one if you want, just twist it round so that it comes up. And then do the rest. You can use some Loctite on these if you like, just to make sure they're definitely not coming out. I mean, obviously there is some vibration as it is a motor, so it's always a good idea to use a bit of Loctite. I'm not using any on the video, just for time really. So they're all connected. Then we're just going to feed these cables through the frame like that, just because we're going to mount the speed controller underneath. Once you've got them like that, you're good to go. You just need to do the same on all 4 arms. Right, now you've got all those bolted up, we're going to look at getting them bolted onto the main frame. So we'll bring the main frame back. As he said earlier, it's up to you whether you use white for the front or red for the front. It's entirely up to you. For me, on this frame, I like to use red as the front. I find it a bit easy to see in the sky. So if we start with the back here, using the white, so they're going to bolt on like that, and obviously 4 around. So the easiest thing to find is just flip them over. Make sure your cables are going through the gap there. Then just push them up to the line up. So you take your second pack of screws, your 6mm, put those on the bench. And line up with the hole. And you just bolt them up like so. And you've got your first arm on there. And we'll go around and do it on the other 4. Right, so once you've got him all bolted on, then you can look at getting these connected to the cables in here. So the easiest thing to do is flip him back over. Now you've got quite a large length of cable there. You could have shortened those. I tend not to, just because I find once you've poked them through there like that, then it's absolutely fine. So then we're just going to get our cable ties. That's also supplied in the kit. And just grab a cable tie, feeding through the first holes within the seat there. So I'm just going to feed it through and back up the other one. Poking through. Get that pushed up to the top like that. And just tie them down. Not too tightly, you don't need it really tight. I mean, the last thing you want to do is split the cable. It's just to hold it there in place. Then on the other end, again just through there, back up the other side. Straight back down. Just like that. Okay, and then you want to do that for all 4, and then we'll have a look at connecting these. So moving on to the control board now. This is the K450. Basically all I'm going to do is use some of these sticky pads that are supplied, and just dot them around the outside of the board, and then I flip that the other way and stuck it to the base plate of the frame. With wiring, it's probably best to go through the manual for the KK board and just spot out which headers are for what on your receiver. Now the kit doesn't come with any radio gear, so whichever receiver you choose to use, obviously you need to make sure that you're using the right channels and they correspond to the right headers on the left hand side of the board. So once you've got to that stage, what I've done is actually just plugged in the motors to the speed controllers. Now, it doesn't matter what order at this stage you put them in. You can plug them into any one, and we're just going to make sure that they're turning the right way. So I'm just going to be using a Nanotech 2200 mAh battery 3S just to test this. But yeah, any 3S, 4S battery size is sort of dependent on your preference really. But as long as it's 3 or 4S, that's absolutely fine. So I'm going to be pairing it with a DX6i. Again, whichever radio set you choose. I've got the bind plug in the receiver, so I'm just going to power this up now. So all the motors will beep, and then just going to do the binding process on my transmitter. Again, depending on which transmitter you've got, you'll have to follow its own binding. So the light's not solid, that just means mine's bound up. I'm just going to remove the stick, and then I'm going to go through and basically check that all the receiver and the transmitter is set up correctly, so that I can see that when I'm moving my sticks, everything's going in the right direction. So looking at the board now, I've just basically gone on to this is the home page. I've just gone onto menu, then I've just gone down to receiver test and entered it. Now I'm on there. I'm just going to go with my right stick left, and I can see that the alien ones are left, that's correct, and aliens are right. Then I'm going to go back with my elevator, and it says back and forward, and that's correct. Then I'm going to go right and left with my rudder, that's also correct. Then I'm going to go up with my throttle to full and back down to idle. I'm also going to just check the gear switch is working correctly as well. So as you can see, all my gear is working correctly. If it wasn't the case and you were going left and it was saying right, then you may just need to reverse your channels on your receiver. Sorry, on your transmitter. So once you know that your radio gear is working correctly, then I'm just going to unplug the battery. Oops. Keep my transmitter on. Basically, we're just going to set the throttle ranges on these speed controllers, just so all the motors spool up at the correct, so they all spool up the same, basically. So I'm just going to go to full throttle. I'm going to hold the furthest right and the furthest left button on the control board, just like that. And I'm just going to connect the battery. And it will say calibrating ESCs, and you heard the two beeps. Then I'm going to come down with the throttle, and you hear the beeps just to let you know that it's calibrated, and you can let go. So now, if I go with the throttle at 0, and then to the right with the rudder, you'll then see on the LCD screen, then it's armed, and the little red light will also be on. Now the motors are live. If you throttle up, they will spool up. So again, at this point, if you make reference to the manual again, you'll be able to see, depending on which configuration you've gone for, X or cross formation, you'll be able to see which motors should be going clockwise and which ones should be going anti-clockwise. So I know that this one and this one needs to be going clockwise. So I'm just watching them as they spool up and down. That one's correct. That one's not correct. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm just going to swap two of the cables. Doesn't matter which two you swap, really doesn't matter. So as long as you just swap two of them over. Like so, and then just spool up again. And it's changed direction, it's now going clockwise. So these want to go anti-clockwise. So I can see straight away that's going clockwise, so I just need to swap two of them again. And just check it. Yeah, and then on that one, that's going anti-clockwise, so that's great. So then I just move, still with throttle 0, move the rudder to the left, and it's disarmed and it says safe on the board. And I'm just going to disconnect that. Right, so at this point, now that we know all the electrics are working correctly, we're just going to put the top plate of the frame on. So I've got the plate there, doesn't matter which way round. And then you just need to get the remaining screws that you've got left over from the frame kit. Just bolt them all up. I like to just put them in slack to start with, so you know everything's lined up, and then you can nip them up after. So now we've got those all bolted up nicely, I'm just going into the packet of our bits and pieces. Then I'll get the double-sided Velcro and put one strip like that on the top, and the other strip I'll stick to whichever flight battery I want to be using. That will stop it basically sliding forwards and backwards. And then I'm going to put the battery strap through the top like that and back over. And obviously that will accommodate any battery you put on there. We're then ready to put the props on. So first of all we just need to get the prop adapters. Take the bolt off, take the little washer off, and put that on top like that. And you've got these very small screws, and you'll need a fine screwdriver. And you're just going to nip them up. Again, good idea at this point to put a bit of Loctite on your screws. Make sure they're not going to vibrate loose. And again, you just put them all in loose and then go around and just nip them up. And you put that back on there, and just for now I'm just going to put those on slightly on there just to stop us losing them, and then go around and do the rest of them. Right, okay, now once we've done that, we're ready to put the props on the adapters. So, as I explained earlier, we want these two going clockwise and these two going anti-clockwise. So, with your set of props that are supplied, take them out of the packet, and you've got two different versions. So, you've got clockwise and you've got counterclockwise. So the easiest way to explain it is if I want to put them on the clockwise motors, which are these two. If you imagine it going round clockwise, you can see that the pitch of that blade, as that goes round clockwise, it's going to push, because it's going like that, it's going to push the air downwards. So you know that they're your clockwise, and then obviously for the anti-clockwise, it's the different ones. So it's going anti-clockwise. You can see again, it's going to push the air downwards. Then for fitting them, it's just a matter of getting the right one. So if I want to fit this one, it's clockwise. So I'm just going to take the screw off there. So I take the bolt off there. Select a nicely fitting spacer, which is actually that one, which is the third biggest on these particular props. So I'm just going to twist that round. Then there's a gap there on the prop. If you just push it in there until it's flush, push it down, and get your nut. Spin that round by hand. Once we've got them all on, I'll go round and I'll just nip those off. So now we've got those all on, I'm just going to go round and just tighten them up. I'm going to hold the motor. I'm just going to tighten them up. You'll feel it getting a bit tight, so just nip him up. Don't over tighten him. Basically, you don't want that. See where that's moving round on the motor, even though I'm holding it still. You just want to take that out till it doesn't move. Now you don't want to over tighten them any more than that, because they can crack while in flight if you do over tighten them. So I'm just going to go over and do the rest. Right, and once you've done that, you're all ready to go. So you put your battery on, in there, hook him up, and you're ready for a test flight. I'd start off with just getting it so that it's just light on the floor, it's moving about a bit, and just make sure that your controls are definitely forward is forward, back is back, right is right, before you start taking it too far up. So you'll notice at this stage that I've left these cables loose, basically just so that you're free to change those just in case you haven't got them going the right way and you notice on first spool up with the props that you're going the wrong way. You can always just easily swap those. Once you've had your first test flight, you can just grab those up there, cable tie them round and get them all looking nice and neat. Again though, you've got the front plate there, which is big enough to put a GoPro or some sort of FPV equipment on there, so you can always get that strapped up ready. And you're just about ready to go and fly. So that's how you build one of our K450 quadcopter kits. I hope you enjoyed the video. Any questions, just feel free to leave some comments, or give us an email, any questions. And keep on watching our tutorials.